Hello, my name is Thomas Carino, and this is my interview number 2 for individual and organizational behavior. Let's get started. Can you please introduce yourself, your current role, and give a quick summary of your managerial experience?
Yeah, hi Thomas. Thank you for having me. So my name is Adrian Adam Dragic. I am currently the HR manager here at Ilmore. And my quick review of my management experience. Honestly, this is my first position that I've had where I manage people, but I've been in HR now for 12 years. And obviously, as an HR representative, focusing on people's development and helping manage members as well. So I've been doing it for quite a while now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to interview for this was because you have the experience in the hiring of individuals or the hiring process, and that's something that comes up a lot in our class, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. So leads us to our next question here. So when hiring individuals that will work for your team, or in your case, maybe work for somebody else's team, what sort of characteristics do you look for? Do you look for more characteristics about their skills or their social skills, maybe their technical skills? What more intrigues you in that process?
Yeah, so technical skills is something that can be taught in every position. And while most managers and most positions require some sort of technical ability. That's not the first thing that I look for. Unless the manager says I need exactly this, then I'll make sure that that person has that. But at the end of the day, I am looking for people's character and personality over anything else. I'm all about somebody that has positive energy, positive attitude, somebody that comes with a mindset that I can learn or I can grow, and that they want to do that. That's more important to me than any sort of technical skill that you can train. Unfortunately, you cannot train somebody's personality. You can try really hard, but coming from experience, you cannot change people. You can change how they react sometimes, but you cannot change people. So definitely looking more so on the personality side of things.
Yeah, totally agree. I've noticed throughout my, couple of management roles that I've had with the folks at PwC and now here that it's totally person dependent, and you have to change your management style so much depending on the type of person that it is. And it's I would prefer as well somebody who is willing to learn and grow just like you. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And that social emotional intelligence is
yeah.
probably at the top of that list too. If you have a manager that can't bond with people, that doesn't get social cues, it makes my job a living nightmare. And it also makes their employees, it makes their life difficult too.
Yep, totally. Okay, so that takes us to our next question here. So, when confronted with a problem at work, specifically one involving people you manage, or in your case, you are essentially the go-to person for problems, how do you begin to solve that problem?
So for me, the way that I begin to solve those problems is understand why or where it started, and try to understand everybody's point of view, and ask questions. You'd you'd be surprised how many times I have a conversation with an employee or with a manager and ask them the questions that you would normally ask yourself before coming to HR. And they're like, oh, I never thought of that. I never thought of, oh, this person's having a bad day, so maybe I shouldn't load them up with a million things to do, right?
Right.
So it's asking the questions as to why, what triggered somebody to have a problem at work, and then try to make sure that I'm asking questions to the manager and the employee in this sense, to get down to the nitty gritty and solve it for them. I don't ever want to solve a problem. I know that sounds weird. I think it's better when you realize that something's wrong and you understand or you come to the conclusion that I need to change it or fix it myself.
Right.
I will just help you get to that point.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that in your management style here, and I think that's something that's a really valuable skill of yours. I've seen you diffuse situations like that and have more often than not a really nice ending point for those deals. So, Okay, next question here. Do you think your attitude has a direct impact on those you manage or work directly with?
For sure. Anybody who says no is lying. Your attitude affects everything. At the end of the day, you're going to get promoted because of your attitude. You're going to get fired because of your attitude. Everything you do in life reflects based on your attitude. If you have a positive attitude, can-do attitude, you're going to be successful. Um, Not saying everybody's perfect and you're going to have best days all day long or all year long. Everybody has their times, their moments, but as long as you have an attitude that's positive, you're going to go places.
Totally agree. And I think part of it too is being honest and like recognizing that, hey, like I'm not having the best day today, so maybe not the day that you need to try to get a bunch out of me, as I've told my boss that before directly. So and I think that we, at least in our relationship, you and I have had a really good open discussion in that sense of things as well. So all right. Have you had a time where an employee or somebody that you were helping bring up to speed at a new company, something like that, was struggling to be successful in their role? And what did you do to help their development?
Yeah, so I think I've definitely dealt with employees that are struggling. Again, I haven't managed too many individuals myself, but I have dealt with individuals that are struggling with their job day to day. And I think the biggest thing that you, as a manager and as an HR professional, need to do is understand and clarify expectations of that person and their job. That you can, I can put a job description in front of you and say, these are the things that you need to do, but 99% of the time, you're going to have a list 10 times longer than that of things that your manager expects you to do. Um,
Right.
and so just laying that out, and if I'm not communicating with my employee, there's obviously going to be issues. And if I'm not communicating my expectations, they're not going to meet my expectations. So being open and honest of what their role is super important. And I think that you lay that out, lay those expectations, and then the next step is then to lay out of how you meet those goals. Do I need to meet with you daily? Do I need to meet with you weekly? Do I need to not meet with you at all? I just tell you your expectations and then go on. Everybody's different. And again, that's where the social emotional part comes in, and knowing your people is super important too. So you kind of gauge, like, do I really need to be hands-on? Do I need to micromanage? That's something I never want anybody to do, but
Right.
there are times you need to do that. Um, so,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Hopefully that answers the question.
That was perfect. No, I appreciate it. Um, Kind of more personal question here. So do you believe that you have a proactive personality? And what we're trying to get at here is, are you somebody who identifies opportunities and acts on them, um, not afraid to disrupt the status quo, or do you kind of feel like that you're just more along for the ride?
So I would like to say that I try to be proactive. I think that is my personality as a whole. I don't want to get caught with a million things to do or figure something out last minute. There are times that happens, but for the most part, I definitely think I'm have a proactive personality, and maybe this is a time where I would ask you, do you feel the same way about me? But I guess that would be for another time. But yes, I think I definitely have that. I'm not afraid to disrupt the status quo. I feel like I'm good at asking those questions that maybe people are afraid to ask. Um, and it's one of those things where it's like everybody's thinking it, but why don't you say it? Um,
Right.
so I feel like I do a good job at that
Yeah.
for the
I would
most part.
agree, and I do think that you have a proactive personality. I've seen it in the things that we've worked on together, where things need to get done, and you're there pushing for them. We just had there's a very specific implementation that comes to my mind that we worked on together that you were really driving home there. So no, definitely feel that way. All right, kind of a more open-ended question here. So you've touched on it a bit throughout our questions thus far, but what skills and attributes do you feel make for a good leader?
Um, So skills as a good leader is obviously communication is going to be number one. That is the biggest thing that people have issues with, and that's where problems arise when you don't communicate. That's always going to be number one for me. Um, and then I think the ability to explain why I'm asking you to do something is
Hmm.
super important to everybody. Because as a manager, you can easily say, I need you to do this, 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 this. And as an employee, if I have no ambition and I just want to check the boxes and go home, great. But if I want to grow and I'm an employee and I want to grow and go to the next level, I need to know why I'm doing this, not just that I'm checking the boxes. So um, I think communication and being able to explain why I need you to do X, Y, Z in a way that um, works for you and helps you understand.
I think that's a huge thing that we've talked about in this course, and something that I've tried to do and as my time as a manager, as well as when I'm asking somebody to do something, or giving them a task, is to explain it in the bigger picture, right?
Yep.
And there's some employees that won't care about the bigger picture, and they just want to, do their thing and move on, like you said. But there's other employees that do want to develop that, and it kind of ties it into the organizational needs. And there's some employees here at Ilmore who feel very strongly. Ilmore is where we work, by the way. Um, Adrian said that in the beginning, but just want to double clarify that here. There's some people who feel very strongly about working here and very tied to the organization. So when you can tie it into the grander picture, they really appreciate that. So no, I think I think those are great qualities that you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. And on that note, if you haven't read it already, I have a book. It Start with Why
Mhm.
by Simon Sinek. I'm probably pronouncing his name incorrectly, but it's a really good understanding of obviously why you're explaining things and how important it is to start with why and then slowly build out.
Right, right. I love it. Okay. I actually think that we have one last question, time for one last quick question here. So, what's the best example of leadership that you've seen in your career?
So I think the best example, and I unfortunately only had a short time that I worked for this leader, but she was great. And she came in and gave you clear understanding of what her expectations were from day one. It
Yep.
wasn't like you had to guess. Whenever I have to guess what I'm supposed to be doing, it doesn't work well. And that's
Right.
probably the same for everybody. So um, she was very good at explaining her expectations. She was very good at communicating. She understood people on a personal level, and uh, she got the most out of people.
Yeah.
Did she make everybody happy all the time? No, of course not. As a leader, you have to understand that you're gonna make people mad. I was gonna use a bad word, but you're gonna make people mad, and it didn't matter as long as you do it in a professional way and a clear way.
Right.
So I really liked that manager that I worked with. She was a vice president of HR for one of the property management companies that I worked for,
Yeah.
and she did a really good job of taking your needs or troubles that you're having as an employee and escalating them to leadership and getting to a solution. And she was also somebody that really strived to have HR be on the leadership team as well, whereas they weren't before. And essentially, that's where I would like to be at some point,
Right.
because I think it's important to have a voice um, and be part of that leadership. And I think I am here. There's probably more that I could do, um, but um, but yeah, she was really good at that. And I still have a book that she gave me, HR from the Inside Out, and she signed it, and um, it's it's great.
Excellent. Excellent. Awesome. Well, Adrian, I appreciate your time today. That looks like all the time that we have. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye.